I don't use big words. I don't really know what meritocracy means. I'm too lazy to look it up. But if it's what I think it is...
Today's episode is brought to you by...
Welcome to a brand new...
What's up, fuckheads and fornicators? What's up? What's up? Well, it's been over a week.
Made a huge mistake.
I know. I've been promising you guys my Hitchhiker's Guide retrospective, but it's gonna be a while for that. Got a lot on my plate, including stuff on my Don't Watch Mojo channel.
Oh, you kids are making too much damn noise.
My girl was in a band with quote-unquote Nikki Sixx's daughter. Who cares? You were born in '85. You were a product of the good years.
Would somebody please tell this insufferable child to God?
If you were born in '92, that means you were conceived during the shitty album.
Snap.
I've seen John Corabi's solo shit, and it's just an acoustic set, and half the time...
He's bitching about how the phone companies screw him over.
I figured Death Punch does the same dumb shit.
I think your group kind of makes music for men to beat their wives too.
Snap.
July marks our 10-year anniversary. Forgot to mention that.
God, you can be so immature.
And I know that most of this channel has been kind of like hybrids of stuff on my other channel. But stay tuned for that. In the meantime, here is my crossover-ish. We all know it's just stolen footage from other channels put into one thing of talking shit on woke people.
The extreme always seems to make an impression.
And the topic is Lord of the Rings and Warhammer 40k. Take it away, Critical Drinker.
We had discussed the Rings of Power a little bit. Now, I know you're not a pop culture man as such, but like I'm assuming this is something that you're kind of into.
Personally, I was never really into Lord of the Rings, both movies and books, because just like my main project I'm working on now, more of a sci-fi guy, but it's alright. When it comes to my fantasy, I'm more of a Golden Axe guy, but what do you think, Sargon?
Yeah, well, I mean, you can't deny the political dimension of what's happening to Lord of the Rings right now, right? It's like,
why would you do that? Why would you do any of that?
There are very few properties that you could say are resistant to sort of left-wing infiltration.
Well, what do you expect? All the action stars in the 70s. Remember the Expendables? I rest my case.
But Lord of the Rings, I think, is one of those things, because it's like, I don't know, it's got this kind of intrinsic right-wing theme to it. This constantly trying to like subvert and undermine and be like,
Okay, we're going to replace these characters, we're going to change these stories, and essentially we're going to liquidate what the thing is.
And I don't normally care about like left or right.
I think Wednesday 13 said it best.
But it's just one of those things where it's becoming so overt. What is it that makes something right-wing? And there was this Czech president who used to arbitrarily declare that things were left or right-wing, and everyone in his country was just like,
What the fuck are you talking about?
so they'd be like, skiing, oh, that's left-wing. Whereas mowing the lawn, that's right-wing.
So basically common sense versus leisure.
But the thing is, he had a logic behind it, if you look at the things, because what he's defining as, like, right-wing and left-wing. And so, like, by this metric, Lord of the Rings is a deeply right-wing property, because the entire point of the Fellowship of the Ring is to try and uphold the proper ordering of the world so Sauron doesn't come and conquer it and, you know, diversify Gondor and whatnot with his orcs of peace.
My chick loves orcs. She defends orcs, but she's also kind of a wokester, so she'd probably like this.
Bullshit. 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 Bullshit.
Bullshit.
Well, in the 40k universe, orcs are just made out of spores.
If I wanted to care about orcs, I'd play World of Warcraft.
Well, I think
he wants a way to view it. You're supposed to destroy it all.
I think Sauron represents a totalitarian, like, monoculture, in that orcs would be literally the only dominant species on the planet under Sauron.
Sauron's hordes are very diverse. You know, he's got lots of different kinds of orcs, and
we're like the Fellowship.
He's got the Southrons, hasn't he? The
Easterlings.
Yeah, the
Easterlings, yeah.
The Easterlings, yeah, that's it. And just different kinds of orcs, and you know, he's got Saruman and all these, you know.
Welcome to your doom. I agree with you guys 100%. I think she's probably the target demographic, and she'll probably fall asleep to this.
But the point is, he's not happy that the Gondorians and the Rohirrim and all this, and he's like, no, I'm conquering all of this. And the whole point of the Fellowship is basically to be able to take his ability away from and destroy this corrosive. The thing that makes Lord of the Rings right-wing is there's a positive assertion of how things should be. There's a particular order here that the Fellowship is trying to uphold, and the only other piece of media I can think of is Warhammer 40k.
Oh yeah!
I can see why they forced Games Workshop to disavow the Space Marines. Because the Space Marines are like the pinnacle of order. You know, the whole point of the universe is that the forces of...
Totally modeled after Event Horizon meets Hellraiser in space.
And not lame like Hellraiser Bloodlines, the last final theatrical release. I mean, it killed it. In fact, that was a really dumb thing to put horror slasher movies in space. It was just dumb. It worked for Alien because that's what it was, but when you put things like Things from Hell, like going in space, or cloning Jason Voorhees, or putting the Leprechaun in space, I rest my case.
They're going to tear apart everything that mankind has built up. And so, like, that's the entire purpose of the Space Marine faction, is to defend. Like, these are, like, the last outposts of decent pop culture. Everything else is just fucking collapsing. There's nothing else. I mean, what's good?
Well, there's Peacemaker, but that's only because I have a bias because they promote a lot of the butt rock bands I hang out with on the Sunset Strip. Also, local LA-based bands like the Darbies. Shout out, and of course, the Orville, as you saw in my reviews that no one watches. Hell, the Orville makes up for Star Trek.
Oh, snap.
And don't get me started on the whole...
Our generation is going to be remembered as the generation that produced nothing good that contributed to human development.
Yeah.
Speak for yourself for our generation. I'm an Xer. You're a fucking millennial.
We're not capable of creativity at the moment.
Well, duh.
Because we're so constrained by, like, rules.
Remember when the whole concept of the youth is to break rules? This younger generation's all about making up new rules.
It's just the people who are in charge now have a war against creativity and excellence. That's the thing.
Yep.
Well, they've got a war against meritocracy and the idea that, like...
Well, whoever's gonna rise to the top is just who's best for it.
These are ugly, inside and out Amber Herds who are running everything, expecting everything given to them because...
We live in a society where people don't beat their kids.
Tattling or swats from parents, family, or teachers was considered completely reasonable if the kids misbehaved or were disrespectful. Punishment was usually swift and painful.
Yeah, of course paddle your kid.
That's why your kid's a little shit. You spoil his rotten, but whatever. Everything's given to you. Baby had their bottle.
It's like, no, we have to define the demographics of who's best for rising to the top.
That sounds bigoted.
Before I continue, let's bring on today's sponsor. No thanks to you. Yep, no thanks to you. We don't get any fucking hype, anything that really matters.
Sargon talks about the Space Marines from Warhammer. Do you think the Imperium of Man in Warhammer is concerned with having the most diverse Imperial Guard that they can?
Absolutely not.
They want to make sure that women get the best shot that they can in the Imperial Guard. No, they don't. They want the most disposable meat bags that they can throw into the fucking fray.
What about the Necron who gave up their bodies living like immortal Terminators? And there's Eldar, Decadence, and of course, the only ones who are basically, I'll say, good, the Tau. And they're just basically a metaphor for communism.
I've made a huge mistake.
And the thing is, if you look at it, like, the forces of chaos are very, very similarly mapped to the left as well, the sort of, like, social justice
Come on.
Dude, no, hey, okay.
Who's Nurgle? Who's Nurgle?
Nurgle is the Pride movement. There's a strain of social justice.
You're right.
But, no.
I told you he was fucking making sense.
I'm not even making this up, right?
We want to see fat bodies up front and center in mainstream media.
Bitch, there's a fine line between body positive and obese.
Despite her attempts to stay in shape, Sarah struggles to maintain a healthy diet.
I know how to eat well. It's just that my portion control is my issue.
Come on.
California decriminalized giving people AIDS.
Yeah, you can like have sex with somebody and like not have to tell them.
You don't have to tell them. I got to double check to make sure that passed. I know they were pushing it through.
Everyone has AIDS. AIDS.
And it's the same San Francisco politician who wanted to normalize other dastardly things.
I mean, come on.
San Francisco was a haven for Hunter S. Thompson to go on a drug binge, and now they ban basically everything.
Okay, faggot, what's next?
California lowers penalty for knowingly exposing partners to HIV, right? So this has gone from being a felony to being a misdemeanor, I believe it is. That's exactly what Nurgle would do.
That's somewhere between Nurgle and Slanesh, isn't it?
Which is, of course, the LGBT lobby, right? You've seen the Pride parades. We don't need to say any more.
Oh, this excitement and torment is getting me so damn horny.
And you know what I say about the whole alphabet community in the first place? 80 fucking types of genders. Warhammer called it.
Since Slanesh is neither male nor female, but a hermaphrodite, the members of the Jade Scepter have invented a new personal pronoun, Shem, Thus, they avoid the use of the more cumbersome he or she and him or her without recourse to the impersonal it. Shem is used for both subject and object, while Shems replaces possessive pronoun with his or her. With similar obsessiveness, the cultists are always careful to use the neutral word deity instead of god or goddess.
You saw this coming. What was this from
Slaanesh has a
1986?
personal fucking pronoun. 1986. How is this not the forces of fucking chaos?
That thing this afternoon? I'm so angry. It was chaos. Fucking chaos.
What are you talking about, huh? I mean, today was great. Chaos is great. Chaos is what killed the dinosaurs, darling.
But then, okay, so you've got Khorne, a religion of peace, okay? It's just purely about blowing stuff up. Right?
Mostly peaceful corn protests.
Mostly peaceful Khorne protests, right?
Know of Khorne's favor.
Nothing, mighty Scarbrand.
You've got Tzeentch, which is all about intellectualism and subversion.
Masters of manipulation. Orchestrators of grand complexity.
And that's us, the Four Horsemen. More like Four Horsewomen.
And all of these things are attacking the Imperium for not being inclusive enough of their perversions or
whatever.
So the 4 Chaos Gods are basically the 4 Horsemen meets the 7 Deadly Sins, equal number 28.
I know, stupid conspiracy theory, but whatever, I'm crazy.
It maps on really closely.
Come on!
Games Workshop are like,
oh, we disavow the Imperium. The Imperium's hate.
and it's like, right, so you've got Khorne berserkers literally chopping off heads for fun and for the worship of their god, but you didn't disavow them. You've got the Slaaneshis perverting, literally like turning everyone into sex slaves, didn't disavow them. Got Nurgle literally spreading disease, didn't disavow that. And you've got Tzeentch, which is literally about lying to everyone to make them ruin their lives, didn't disavow that. But you disavow the Space Marines. That's really interesting, isn't it?
It's really important to respect people's culture.
Well, exactly! That's exactly it! That's literally the latest Tzeentch fucking advertising campaign. It's just mad.
Well, it's kind of like the people who want to criticize Judge Dredd for being a fascist, but yet long comes Judge Death, who are less evil than he is. But it sounds like these people rather be on Judge Death's side than Judge Dredd's side. And Judge Death basically is like who the Batman Who Laughs rips off, and you get the idea.
Face it, our way is the way. I mean, we scare people into not being assholes.
Our way is not our way.
The internal logic of it is basically the identical logic of these factions. But anyway,
Yeah, what the Chaos Gods, they represent all the negative aspects of the human psyche, don't they? Like, remember the 7 sins. Look what we have now.
yeah, it's mad, isn't it?
What can I say?
Shut up and get to the point!
The point is, you don't have a choice. You can't coexist with the orcs, have a pet tyrannid, bring a demon in and engage in some Slaaneshi cultism on the weekend.
All of this stuff is spawned from when Games Workshop was first founded, which was back in the 1980s, when it was very much gung-ho, action-oriented. You know, we're here to create like a dark, grim future where it's only war.
I got a set once. I love the lore. It's badass.
You can't start to change this universe and this lore that's been built up over decades to suit modern sensibilities. Like,
It was also very heavily inspired by both Starship Troopers, hence the Ultramarines, and of course, Dune. Those are big factors of it.
it's grim, it's horrible, it's violent, it's aggressive. That's exactly what it needs to be. That's the setup for it. You can't just make that compatible with your softly approach to modern life.
And that's what makes it interesting and fun, you know? Like, the fact that it's so extreme and everything is just trying to kill you all the time. You know, it makes it very interesting. And it's just really weird watching them being like,
Yeah, but could we have some diversity and inclusion?
like no?
Exactly. Like, if you're in a situation like that where you're fighting for the survival of your species, diversity and inclusion is going to be the last thing on your mind. Literally the last thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, Balrogs are fiery but mostly peaceful. I think we can all agree with that.
Exactly.
I would think diversity and inclusion is already in the mix if they're just throwing bodies. They're not going to sit there and go, well, we can't have that guy over there, Daniel, here, because he's wearing a dress and panties.
And this is why we're going to have a society of Morlocks versus Eloi. And the Morgulocks are going to gobble up all the Eloi.
Get on with it. Yes, get on with it.
Fucking gatekeep. Gatekeeping is good. The moment someone comes in who wants to make these changes, who wants to try and enforce this shit, on you, just say, no fucking way, sir. Fuck off.
We need to weed out the fucking posers, because posers are running everything and ruining everything.
We're not here for you.
I go into detail, but you know, I'm just basically just trolling all of you anyway, so whatever. I'd say special thanks to people, but I gotta go on Sub Pals and YT Pals just to try to get 100 views on here, because the algorithm could suck. Coming soon. Oh, I'm doing a deep, insane, did I mention deep dive into the entire lore of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy? Because if you didn't know this, back in 2012, I tried to start a disaster area tribute band.
The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy notes that it is a disaster area. The Plutonian rock band, the Agrokaka mine zones, is generally held to be not only the loudest rock band in the galaxy, but in fact the loudest noise of any kind at all. Oh yeah!
I almost have the full collection of Star Wars Legacy, you know, from Dark Horse Comics. You know, when Star Wars comics were good. And my favorite character, Cade Skywalker. I even got the heart. You know, I just need 2 more to add to my collection, and I'll have the whole set to do my review on. I'll do it by individual, you know, trade book. I also got the Predator Omnibus by Dark Horse Comics, because fuck Disney, fuck Marvel. That lore's badass. They actually gave the lore to Predator, you know, in Dark Horse Comics. I also got Axe Cop and a bunch of other things, so stay tuned on that shit.
Plus the fucking message is bomb.com.
Chaos is a ladder.
Shout out to our patrons, in order of importance: The Fly Attractor, Janitor Jake, Count Morivond, Gary Mossberg, and of course Ryan Zacher. If you have any opinions on what I'm saying, like and comment. Just say some shit in the comments. I need more hate mail anyway, because apparently the only way I actually get views is when I piss people off, because this algorithm...
Bullshit. Bullshit. Bullshit.
Bullshit! Fight Club pointed out best that we're the middle children of history. Well, millennials are the gay little brother who whines too much. Kind of like if you compare Slipknot to Hollywood Undead. And